Steph Curry has been ruled out after a strained hamstring discovered in an MRI is going to leave him out for at least a week. What does that mean? We're going to talk about it all the more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago, for everything NBA related. I'm the host here, Haize. More importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. So Steph Curry is going to miss at least a week after a grade 1 hamstring injury, which could mean that he's out until game 5, which after the way the Golden State Warriors took care of business and did defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves, it can get you into a false sense of confidence. We know that, they had a big lead when Steph went down. The Minnesota Timberwolves were not able to capitalize on that and come back in and win the game, unfortunately. But you don't want to go in down missing your big gun in Steph Curry, right? We talked about it in round one. Steph and Jimmy Butler accounted for almost 50% of the Golden State Warriors offense alone, right? And while Buddy Hield has stepped up hugely over the last 2 games for sure, when it comes down to that, they're going to need that contribution. It can't be just Jimmy Butler in this. Like, he's not, even in games where Steph Curry's missed, Jimmy hasn't really used that to take a lot more shots. Now, it's playoffs. Things are different. He may be able to step up. And we know that Jimmy Butler has the capability, but you're going to need a lot more than just that when it comes down to it. You're going to need Jimmy to step up. You're going to need Buddy Hield to have big games for you. You're going to need Pods to hopefully wake up at some point over the course of the series. Pods Zeminski has not had a very great series for himself yet over the course of this playoff series. So those are things that's definitely concerning and that the Golden State Warriors are going to have to look out for, especially with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think after the way that Chris Finch kind of called out Anthony Davis, that you're going to want to see, like, Anthony Davis is going to come out trying to prove, at least I hope he comes out trying to prove a point and play much better than what he did in game 1. But you look at it in the round 1 against the Houston Rockets, Pods, for example, only averaged 11 points per game. He did that on 38% shooting from the field, 34% shooting from 3. You need more than that. Now, that's close to what his regular season stats were, where he averaged 11.7 points per game over the course of the regular season. But that efficiency, you're going to need a lot more of that, or a lot better from him, especially with the fact that Steph is out now, right? So you're going to need Dre, who shot the ball really well in the first half of that game, not necessarily in the second half. You're going to need him to step up and make a couple of more shots for you as well. But it really comes down to me, it comes down a lot to what Buddy Hield is going to give and how consistently is he going to be able to give it for this Golden State Warriors team. Because listen, I've said it, Buddy Hield was the reason why, in my opinion, they won Game 7. Wasn't the only reason why, but you look at the scoring and the heavy lifting that he did in that one. Came in with another big game in Game 1 against this Minnesota Timberwolves team. You're going to need all of that. And if you don't get it, it could be ugly for you. Steph was averaging 22 points per game in the playoffs so far. Jimmy's averaging 18. Buddy Hield's only averaging 12. But like I said, we know through the last 2 games he's been given a lot more than that. You're going to need that. And you're going to have better and more if you want to lock in. And the defense is a big reason why the Golden State Warriors won this game. Make no mistake about it, right? It wasn't like their offense was on fire because it wasn't against the Minnesota Timberwolves. It wasn't like they put on an offensive display or anything like that. It was really what they did defensively. And if that defense is going to keep the Minnesota Timberwolves shooting 5 of 29, 17% from 3, then they're going to have a chance in this game, right? But the Warriors themselves, they only shot 39% from the field, 42% from 3, 86% from three-point line, right? You're going to need better than that throughout a series. You're going to need people to step up, especially if Anthony Edwards really steps up the way that we've seen him do. Julius Randle, hopefully he's going to have a much better game in that as well. They're hoping for. He's already talked about how he needs to be better. And while the stat line looks fine for Anthony Edwards, 23 points, 14 rebounds, three steals, a block in that game. It looks fine as far as if you just look at the box score. But he had an effective field goal shooting percentage of 0 in the first half of the game against the Golden State Warriors, right? A true shooting percentage of 5.6. You need more. You need better than that. if you're going to be able to step up and win this series. So both teams didn't like. It's not like either team played particularly well on the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot of room left for both those teams to play much better for sure. And you're going to have to hope that you get that. Either one of these teams could step in and find their consistent rhythm offensively. It changes a lot for this team. But can you do that? That's the biggest question here. Is can you do it? Can you find your way consistently? And if you can, great. If you can't, it could be ugly for you. And so that's what it comes down to. Like, this is unfortunate news. These playoffs has been really exciting and really fun to see so far when it comes down to it. But injuries are a story. It's starting to turn into a story in the second round. The injuries with the Cleveland Cavaliers, right, being a huge reason why that team's down 0-2, right? Now, injury to Steph Curry that's going to leave him out at least a week, which could be, again, game 5 is a week from today, right? So you're not getting a bunch of rest at all. So that puts you out potentially for the next 4 games for Steph Curry if that's how this ends up shaking out. I don't know if the Warriors are going to be able to overcome that. But then again, we don't know how this team is going to play. Hopefully the Minnesota Timberwolves do play better. If not, it's going to leave a lot of room for the Golden State Warriors to be in this one. But it's every other day now. This is the point where you're every other day. The Warriors do not have a long break in this one potentially until after Game 5, where there's 4 days between Game 5 and Game 6. If they do not keep that afloat by then, who knows if Steph Curry's even going to be able to make it back in time for another game, right? And that's what you're looking at for. We got Ant the Big Homie in here. It says, my strength and conditioning coach used to tell me when I played football back in the day, calf muscle strain are a sign of weak Achilles. Hill definitely has to be careful. Achilles injury is definitely a problem there. Oh, it's a hamstring. It's a hamstring. Oh, you're good, bro. And you're not wrong. Yeah, you're still not wrong. Like you're still not wrong. And hamstring injuries can turn into other things. That's why you have to be very, very careful of it, right? And that's the story, man. You gotta be prepared for this. And so how the Golden State Warriors respond to this is going to be really telling. And hopefully they're able to come into this series and really kind of step up and find their way. You're going to need role players to step up. And this may be an opportunity as well to try to get Jonathan Kuminga back in rhythm and back in rotation. And if you can, I mean, that's going to pay off big time for you. So, we'll see how it shakes out overall. Like, it's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate that, the Golden State Warriors had some great momentum, man. And they were in a playoff series where it's the 6th and 7th seed in the playoffs. And, one of these teams are going to go to the Western Conference Finals at either a 6th or a 7th seed. And, at that point in time, it's all up from there, right? So it's really unfortunate. Same thing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs now find themselves in one of the most bleak 0-2 scenarios that I've ever seen, right? Because usually if a team's down 0-2, maybe you could say, okay, well, they started off on the road. Let's see what they're going to do when they go home. Hearing that Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter couldn't even do shoot around yesterday because of his finger and the issues going on there. That's a concern. That's a big concern. We got my brother Jay-B joining. What's going on, Jay-B?
What's going, sir?
So I was talking about the injuries to both teams, the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. Let's go back to the Steph news. You hear that Steph Curry's out a week, could be out until Game 6. How do you think that changes the outlook of this series?
I think it drastically changes the outlook because we saw, at the time of this recording yesterday, we saw Golden State with a victory, and for the most part, they didn't have Steph. I think Steph went down in the first quarter. Correct me if I'm wrong. Second quarter, sorry. He only attributed 13 points, so they showed that they could win without Steph. I think with Steph on the team, they would probably win the series at 5. To be honest with you. Now without Steph, that drastically changes everything. I get it. They won yesterday, but to start a game from fresh and to hold that lead all the way through, Golden State's in trouble. They're going to need, like I said yesterday when we did our watch long, Buddy Hield's going to have to step up. Jimmy Buckets is going to have to be Jimmy Buckets, and they're going to need help from somewhere else as well, whether that's Draymond or whoever it is. I was calling for number 61, Pat Spencer, whoever the hell that is, but they need someone. They need someone, bro.
Yeah, I mean, in Pods is only he's shooting the ball ineffectively so far in the playoffs. We know that Jimmy, like we've seen him go into complete and utter like in the zone during playoff series, and you're going to need him to tap into that some. But the question is who else? Like I don't think Jimmy's at the place now like that you can do it alone. And the Minnesota Timberwolves may not shoot the ball as bad as they shot it in Game 1. Again, let's hope that they don't. And do you think this is an opportunity for Jonathan Kuminga, who's been out of the rotation for the Golden State Warriors, to maybe come in this rotation and give them a little bit of scoring punch? Now, the balance between him and Jimmy is weird because they both need to be on ball. They're both wings. But who do you think, if not Kuminga, if not Pods, who and Buddies can be inconsistent, who do you look at the most and who needs to step up offensively for this Golden State Warriors team? Dre?
Draymond, because he has the. I know Draymond. Everyone looks at him like a defensive guy or whatever, but with his experience, him as a locker room leader, etc. You saw like he had glimpses yesterday. I mean, he had a couple threes in the first half, and he was doing his thing. But they're gonna need everyone, and it starts with Draymond. Buddy Hield, like you said, could be streaky. Pods could be streaky, so they're gonna need Draymond on both ends of the floor for sure. Another thing that we have to think about, I don't want to completely write off Golden State because when you're looking at Steve Kerr versus Finch, in my opinion, Kerr is way in a different league than Finch. That's just my opinion. And I know coaching still has, it's still a big part of the game. So what do you think on that aspect? Like from a coach's
coaching
standpoint?
has been important basically every series in this playoff so far. So that's a very good point. But I think you could of course, Steve Kerr is one of those coaches that coaches up. Like he can get the most out of a roster. But let's be clear, like it's not like the Golden State Warriors offense has even been crazy, even in their series against the Houston Rockets. And we know that this Minnesota team has a defensive gear that they can kick into as well. They haven't necessarily that we didn't see definitely in Game 1. So the X's and O's part of it is definitely going to play a big role. But Steph and Jimmy were 50% of the offense for the Warriors in that first series. So I don't know, man. I think Finch can do a good enough job. I think he's already played ahead, right? Like him after that game kind of calling out Anthony Edwards a little bit. I think he knows how to light a fire under Anthony Edwards and motivate him some. But I don't know, bro. I don't know how to call it. Like I want to give the edge to Kerr, but this is a Warriors team that their depth is mad questionable already. Like even if we're talking about all things being even.
So let me ask you this last question. Do you think going into Game 6, whether it's Warriors trying to close out the series or Warriors fighting for their life, and Steph is not 100%, he's even 70%, even 60%, that they would risk and he would risk coming back early? The reason I'm asking that question is because if that's the case, their goal is to try to get to Game 6. All they got to do to get to Game 6 at this point is win one more game, and Game 6 is locked. They could lose every other game, and we're still getting a Game 6. So just to get to Game 6 to get Steph at least back on the court, do you think he comes back early?
I don't
though,
think
if he's
they
not
play with
100%
it like that. I mean, maybe a game early, but I don't think they play with it because hamstrings can definitely turn into something else if it's not fully healed. And luckily, it's only a grade 1, which is the better. If it was a grade 2, we're talking about him being out probably the rest of the series, and it could turn into a grade 2 if you put too much strain on it. So he's gonna have to rest. Now, if Steph feels confident in it, they may, but I think they keep in mind Dre, Steph, Jimmy are all locked in for I think 2 more years, if not 3 more years after this. I don't think they risk it if it turned into something bad and maybe him not having a full offseason or training camp. I don't think they risk it in a case like this. I just don't. If this is the Western Conference Finals, maybe, but I don't think so, man.
Got to protect the investment.
Now, let's look at the Cavs real quick before we end this. The Cavs, that's what I was talking about before you came back, as far as their injury. They have Garland out, Evan Mobley's out, Hunter's out. Big part of it. They're down 0-2 right now. And I read something that said that in any other regular season scenario, you're probably looking at Mobley and Garland missing a week off the rip. They're not announcing as that because they're going to want to try to get them back. They're going to try to fight to get back into this playoff series. But how much do you think that these injuries are going to affect them? And do you think they have enough to try to get back into the series? They would have to win 4 out of the next 5 games to just win this series. Do you think it's too little, too late for the Cavs?
So this is a lot worse than I initially thought, because when I had read initially, I thought Mobley and Garland were going to miss about one game. Now that from what you're saying, it doesn't seem that way. So The problem is, and I said this like coming into the playoffs, two teams that maybe on paper it's like but I would be terrified to play was Indiana and also Detroit. My team played Detroit, and the reason why those two teams more than any other team, and I'm not talking like the upper echelon, consistently were beating great teams all throughout the season. I get it, season is a whole different story, but in Indiana's case, their output is ridiculous. The amount of times I've seen these dudes drop 130, 140 points. So their output is crazy. When you have output like that, you can win at any time. And that's what we've been seeing. If Mobley and Garland do not come back, there is no chance whatsoever. Forget about winning the series. I don't even know if Cavs can even win 2 games without those guys coming back. So they're in a lot of trouble. And I don't think they have the depth or the firepower to keep up with Indiana. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I mean, without Garland and Mobley, like those are two players that are so important to either side of the ball for them. Evan Mobley is one of the engines that makes that defense as dangerous as what it can be at times with his ability to not only protect the rim, protect players from even getting to the rim and switch. Like Evan Mobley is a really damn good defensive player, and we all know that, right? So I just the Pacers have come into this, and make no mistake, game 2 came down to a last second shot, but like they came into the fourth quarter on a 12-3 run to get that lead down. And even though the Cavs were up with like 4 or 5 points with like 27 seconds left, the Pacers they didn't go away. So they need these guys in here, man. Like Donovan Mitchell's giving you everything that he can give you. I don't know what else you can look at and hope to get from Donovan Mitchell. He's giving you everything. So at this point, you need one of those guys back, either for offense or either for defense. Hopefully you can get them both back. I hate to say this after only 2 games, but I think the Cavs are cooked, bro.
Going down 2-0 when you had home court advantage, that's rough, bro. I mean, literally, all Pacers have to do is win 1 game at home, and they're going to be up 3-0 or 3-1. And we know the record when it's a 3-0 or 3-1. Like, you virtually have no shot. So they're going to need a lot of work. I don't know where they go or how they're going to possibly win. And the losing defensive players like they lost, you're not going to beat Pacers with a shootout. You have to stop them. Like as much crap we want to talk about Halliburton, I hate Halliburton, but they have firepower. Those guys shoot a lot of threes, man. That's their game. And if you can't stop them, you're going to be in trouble.
Said him being ranked by the players as the most overrated player in the NBA. To quote Jordan, I took that personally. And like he's been playing like that since these players have been going on, man. And
bro, I would love to see his stats since they said that because he's been playing wild since that. Going back from last year,
it's been really crazy since then. Like, and he took it to the chin. Like he didn't make a big fuss about it, but he's putting it all out there on the court, and that's what you want to see, man. So, but yeah, I think both these series are the two to watch. The way that injuries can really dictate these 2 series specifically is going to be the thing to watch out for. But yeah, anything left, JB, before we get up out of here?
Just that it's been a great playoff so far.
Amazing. One of the best playoff series that are just overall playoffs that I've seen in a while, man. Like I can't think of the last time that in round 1, other really than Memphis, OKC, and Orlando, even Orlando, Boston was interesting, like in stretches of those games, but like
and the Cleveland series.
Every single series has just been crazy. So,
and like I texted you last night, first time ever in round 2 that every favorite home court lost. Every one of all 4 of them lost.
And says going down 2-0 and being injured. Yeah, they're cooked. You're absolutely right, Haize. Cooked. I guess we'll see. All right, but thank you guys for tuning in, man. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, 773-270-2799. We're the number 1 spot for everything basketball related. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.